So today, and for my talk, I'll try to infuse you all with a little bit of toxic positivity. There's been a lot of amazing talks so far today, a lot of descriptions of pretty depressing reality, so I think it's quite important to bring something quite different. So the title of the talk today is Decentralizing the Internet's Collaboration Layer, case in point, ddocs.new and defcon collab.io. For those of you who were at Vitalik's talk, this first app is what he was talking about. I think he named it actually. I recommend you try it out. I'm sure that you'll find both the values and the tech stack that you all appreciate. Now, super. So a little bit of context for today before I can go deeply into the details. Over half of all internet users are dependent on a closed source, centralized app suite for their daily knowledge creation and sharing and collaboration. It's called Google Workspace. Now, the underlying premise of this talk is that you cannot actually have internet freedom if you're surrounded by walled gardens or trapped in them. Worse even, it fundamentally limits the type of global coordination and collaboration that we can imagine, let alone realize. And this is, in sociology, they call it the affordances of the app, what can you do and imagine that you can do, etc. Now, I don't think I need to go very deeply into the details of why this is a problem. The problem speaks for itself. There are constant leaks. There are constant attacks that we're observing. There are human misconfigurations or disgruntled employees that want to do a last act of sabotage before leaving their company. And fundamentally, the problem with centralization is that you get a bunch of those issues accumulated and basically gives everyone much less security, privacy, data protection in their everyday lives. Now, okay, I don't need to go through the whole list, but some of those big issues are mass surveillance, behavioral manipulation, link rot. 38% of web pages that existed in 2013 are no longer accessible, and this is accelerating, especially in news agencies. I don't know if you saw the Internet Archive was down for, what, 4 or 5 days, and a lot of links were disappearing. Server outages. The beginning of the summer started with 5-6 hours of Microsoft Office not being available anymore. It costs trillions of dollars to the global economy. Ridiculous. And the last one, which I put in bold, constrained ownership configurations. And this is what I meant by it limits our imagination in what can we actually do in terms of collaboration, knowledge creation, sharing, because our tools are basically so constrained that it is almost impossible to think, okay, what could the internet look like if it didn't have those constraints of a cloud-based paradigm? So, there is one group of people, there's one group of people that, okay, you read it, that should know this better. Crypto teams, communities, individuals are no different from the rest of the active web, but despite our values, our knowledge of what a better system might look like, we are still mostly using those centralized apps and dependent on it, which is, in my opinion, is catastrophic, because one of the best things that has come out of crypto, even if everything else disappears, is the knowledge that we produced over 15 years on creating better technologies, coordinating people at a global scale, etc. Now, to fight that, and this is the second part of the talk today, we at Fileverse talk about social technical counterpositioning to all this. So not only technical approaches and apps, tools, etc., but also the communal collaboration that can actually improve the situation. So to avoid capture and abuse, our most essential activities and data should leverage open protocols and networks instead of closed products managed by centralized companies. Pretty straightforward. Now, what does that look like on a technical level? That layer, we like to think of it as a hybrid layer that combines two things. On the right, you have peer-to-peer networks. They've existed since the beginning of the internet. Until around 2010, a third of internet traffic was just peer-to-peer interactions. And then it started to die down. And there are a lot of amazing things you can do with peer-to-peer networks, but fundamentally they were restricted. There was a lack of objective identity. There was a lack of guarantees that if you run a code, it would continue running or give you what you need, etc. And this is where community computers, another word for public blockchains, come in that they offer incredibly complementary characteristics to peer-to-peer networks if you put the two properly together. Those include strict global consensus, credible neutrality, computational and data integrity, inter-app composability, which is amazing, which is super important. In DeFi is what you know as maker, compound, Aave, etc. And this can be reproduced also for social apps and more. Now, you put the two together and you realize that there are a lot of new primitives actually and standards that we can take advantage of to create this new generation of apps that doesn't put 3.2 billion people in the same centralized basket that controls their whole lives without them knowing what is happening to their data, to their applications, or even if they'll have access to them tomorrow. I'll list a few of them. I don't want to go too much over time, but you have portable and co-ownable identities. Portable meaning right to exit, take your data, go somewhere else. You have strict global consensus, now accessible via cheap and fast layer 2 blockchains. You have scalable proving systems via ZK snarks. You have proof carrying data, PCDs like Zupas. Portable social graphs, go on a different app or interface of the same app, bring with you your social connections, and don't depend on a server telling you what your social circle looks like. Peer-based storage, content addressing, etc. If you put some names onto those primitives and standards, this is what it looks like. We like to call it the self-sovereign stack. You have safe smart smart accounts. You have the Fileverse collaboration middleware. You have ENS, EFP for your social graph. You have content addressing and storage layers like IPFS and Swarm. You have Farcaster and Lens, which are pretty good examples of that social composability that I was talking about at the beginning. Zupas, Radical for replacing GitHub in a peer-to-peer manner with good encryption, etc. HATS protocol for access controls, and UCANs for user-controlled authorization networks, which is like HATS in some ways, but it's not on-chain. It's for off-chain exchanges of information, etc. Now, so, a little bit too much written over here, so let me make it a bit shorter. Now that I've given you a little bit of context on what the problem is, what opportunities exist depending on what tech, I'm going to tell you about one project, ours, called Fileverse, that tries to put together all those new primitives that have matured over the past 15 years and try to experiment with new types of apps that can rival the UX of dominant apps, app suite, without exposing them to the friction of protecting your own data and more. Not require people to go to Coinbase first, dox themselves, put a picture of their cat, get some tokens, and then fund their wallet to then be finally able to use a DApp. No, catastrophic. let's forget about that. We also want to use basically our decentralized knowledge and collaboration stack to offer by design data protection, accessibility, reliability, and interoperability guarantees. It's not because we value those and it makes us feel good. We are delivering that because both governments and people are actually pushing more and more demands on having these in their apps. The GDPR and the CCPA are good examples of that. It's a good reminder as well that if you're an app developer, if you're a user, if you're anybody in crypto, those values that relate to data protection, accessibility, etc., are not just for show. It makes you immediately part of a community and standards for technology that gets you attention from the right people. So I might not be very well connected in crypto, let's say. I don't know Vitalik personally, but because our app has those things by design, it catches the attention of these types of individuals and communities. Now, this is also built and will grow through people's contributions and through open networks rather than behind closed doors. And it offers also radically new collaborative capabilities and experiences. For example, cryptographically ensured co-ownership over shared data spaces. And I'll tell you exactly what that means. First example for today, this is defconcollab.io. It's an experiment, it's a community experiment that we put together with the DEF CON team alongside with a bunch of other teams, including Waku, Firefly, Hats, etc. And the experiment was basically, I'll try to make it short, but when you go to DEF CON or any crypto conference, I don't know about you, but I have 16 Telegram group chats. I have 17 Notion pages and sheets to follow. I have knowledge that is scattered across Twitter threads, and I don't know how to find it. It's not ideal, especially when our community, one of its most important outputs is the knowledge that we create at conferences like DEF CON. So this is basically bringing DEF CON on chain. You can get access to it if you have a DEF CON ticket. So we authenticate you via Zupas, this proof-carrying data tech. You come here and you can add DDocs, you can add notes, images, files, PDFs, whatever you want. And you can relate them to either, link them either to some talks, to some slides that you saw at DEF CON. You can join some hubs and discussion corners to see what is going on in specific areas of DEF CON and Ethereum communities. You can comment, chat. You have a global chat as well. You can DM directly people. And all this is built, again, in a way that just shows that we're ready. Not we, Fileverse. The crypto space is ready. We've had 15 years of accumulating that knowledge and those primitives and this infrastructure that never stops getting funded. It's time to build stuff with it. Trying not to say bad words. It's time to build stuff with it. So this has XMTP for communication. Moderation is done with the Waku agent. You have IPFS that guarantees the storage of the data, Zupas for authentication. You have Fileverse for the collaboration, real-time collaboration as well, comments, etc. And finally, you also have social media aggregator, Farcaster, Lens, Twitter, all accessible via this page without you needing an account, basically. And this is done via Firefly. Okay, I'll finish. Sorry. Yeah, I'll finish with just one last example. Last example is on ddocs.new. Just to show you, it's a new generation of technology. You don't need to do things like you did the old ways, especially when much better ways of doing it are accessible today. So for this, instead of listening to my voice, I prepared a little video. Let's see if it works. Thank you.
So how does Google Docs work? It's like, okay, everything goes off into a cloud and like servers like somewhere in America and like I'm not even sure where, right? And the reason why it has to be this way is because people started about collaboration, right? And people started caring about things like not just like me editing a document for myself, but like people working together on a document, right? And then you ask like, how do you translate the ideals of free software onto a world where like software just has to be networked in order to fulfill people's needs, right? And so the vision is basically like, okay, you have to have a shared memory, and like maybe Ethereum can be that shared memory, right? So like that was the original Web3 vision, and of course I think the original Ethereum ended up not delivering back then, basically because there were the three pieces: Ethereum, Whisper, and Swarm, and on Ethereum. 生麦生米生卵なんもないからお店に買いに行こう赤パジャマ黄パジャマ茶パジャマぐちゃぐちゃなまま置かれててめっちゃ邪魔買えるぴょこぴょこみぴょこぴょこ買えば増えて今や10個ぴょこぴょこ祝新春ジャズシャンソンショーまず3周回って優秀賞生麦生米生卵なんもないからお店に買いに行こう赤パジャマ
Voilà. So, I'm a bit over time, sorry. And yeah. Everything you saw is made with peer-to-peer tech, with on-chain primitives. So please give it a try. Let me know what you think. And yeah, thanks for coming.